future inside of me. I can find my promise, deepest parts of me. I can find my promise.
Welcome to the It's All About Pink Love podcast with Dr. Renair, the Pink Love Specialist.
Deepest parts of me. Arising from the dead to find the spirit inside myself. Taking love to the deepest parts of me. There's a power, the energy in my soul that sets me free. My heart is open for the heavens which supplies my source. And it's here. I can find my promise. I can find my future so clear. I can find my promise inside of me. I can find the future to the deepest parts of me. I can find the future inside of me.
Hey, love. Welcome to episode 8 of It's All About Pink Love. My name is Dr. Renair. I am the Pink Love Specialist, and I am so honored to be able to be with you in this moment, in this time, for this talk today in episode 8, Godot Is Not Coming. Before we start talking about that, I just want to take a moment to check in and tell everyone I thank you for all of your support, for your listenership, and for all of the new platforms that we are now available on. I try to give gratitude. Let me take that back. I give gratitude for all moments, all pit stops, everything that comes along the way, even the things that don't feel comfortable to me. If you are a person who is empathic or a person who is tuned into the perils of the world, you will know that we are in an interesting time. Life is vibrating on this frequency where people are discovering new things about themselves. They're discovering things about their friends and their family. They're also discovering things about the world, about humanity that we may have forgotten, but has been real for a very long time. So in this moment, I just want to send some love out to anyone who is being affected by what is happening around them. I pray that you have some peace and some solace in this moment. I just found myself in this place where I have been kind of quiet in within my spirit. I have not really had much to say, but I've had a lot of thought. So I've been in a really reflective place. And one of the things that has come up in recent sessions with my clients and recent conversation with my friends is this idea of waiting for someone to show up, waiting for someone to be what you desire them to be, waiting for, in some cases, reciprocity, waiting for someone to show up for you as you have shown up for them. When I keep playing through those things in my mind, I always wonder, why do we make decisions based on what someone else is going to do? Why is it that we will sit and wait for Godot? And you may be like, who is Godot? What does that mean? And I'll talk about that in a moment. But I've been kind of forced, because when you're doing stuff that you don't have any business doing, or you're ignoring things that require your attention, the universe has a way of jumping out and going, oh, if this is what you think is getting ready to happen, we're not leaving you there. When you have things that cause you to have to evolve, you will be forced out of your comfortable state if you neglect to take heed to the warnings that are coming. So when you have things that you desire to see happen, but your pause is in that you're waiting for someone else to be the person to show up. You're waiting on whatever it is that they decide to do before you make a decision on what you're going to do. Regardless of what you desire the outcome to be, you will not move from that place until you are clear what the other person is going to do. So today, for the next 20 some odd minutes that we are together, I want to spend some time talking about Godot, talking about what happens when the expectations we have of an individual are not met. What happens when Godot does not show up? So, to give you a little background on who Godot is and how Godot is referenced throughout the rest of our conversation, there was a play that was written by Samuel Beckett, and it was called Waiting for Godot. I specifically remember this play because I read it in high school, and I remember thinking, what in the world is this? So Godot is a story about two gentlemen, Vladimir and Estragon. Vladimir and Estragon, they are in this country on this road positioned by a tree. And they are waiting for a man named Godot. Now, apparently, these two had known each other for a long time. They meet up on this road and find out that they're both there waiting for Godot. They are reminiscing over their lives, and apparently their lives has taken a turn for the worse for the most part. And they have hope that this Godot individual is going to help them. So while they're sitting there waiting, they're talking about memories, they're having conversation, they are just sharing with one another. So while they're waiting, two other gentlemen arrive and they start talking and sharing that they're there waiting for Godot, and the gentleman lets them know, the gentleman's named Lucky. Lucky lets them know that Godot is not coming and that he'll be there tomorrow. So he decides to leave after he shares this information with them, and they stay waiting. And they stay waiting, and they stay waiting. The trees are changing, and they stay waiting long enough for Lucky and his friend to come back around. When they come back around this time, Lucky is not really talking. He's mute. And the other gentleman is blind and helpless. And after that, they leave. And then another individual comes and he says, Godot is not coming. He'll be there tomorrow. This is the entire play. It's 2 acts to this play. And they are sitting there waiting for Godot. And if I could reach out into my imagination, I would think they probably would still be there waiting for Godot because they were not moving until he arrived. They were already desolate. They were already feeling away. They were already, at some points in their life, they had been suicidal. They had already been wasting all of this time, wasting away, waiting, that they did not have the gumption. They did not have the thought process to get up and leave and go do something with their time instead of waiting for someone to show up for them. And when And I remember being younger and having a plethora of questions like, who was Godot? And why were they waiting for him? Who got the message to them in the first place to go there? There was very little to none information about who exactly Godot was. We just knew that they were waiting. That was the whole premise of this 2-act play. So recently I got to thinking about that play. I got to thinking about what it means when we are sitting and waiting for someone to show up. How many times have you said to yourself, this could be pertaining to a family member, a lover, a friend, well, if they do this, then I'll do that. Or, I'm not going to break up with them. I'm just going to wait to see what they're going to do. Oftentimes we give the power that we have away to someone else because we're waiting for them to decide what they want to do with us. We're waiting for them to break up with us. We're waiting for them to hold us accountable. We're waiting for them to let us know how they feel, if they'll speak to us again, if they'll call us again. We will sit and twiddle our thumbs while someone else decides our fate. We do it at work. You don't want to be there. You don't want to work there, but you feel like, well, if they give me a raise, it'll give me a reason to stay. But you don't want to be there. So why are you waiting? Because what will happen is when it comes time for the raise, if they don't give it to you, then that becomes your motivation for finally wanting to leave, for finally wanting to be happy in your choices. When in all honesty, you could just start looking for another job, regardless if you get the raise or not. We often will put off the courageous act and lay the responsibility at the effecting act so that we can have the courage or not to move from the place that we're in. I liken it to waiting for a sign. Now, for my spiritual folks, I'm not talking about a sign that you might have prayed for or placed on your altar about a decision that you desire to make from the Most High. I'm talking strictly about signs that we wait for from an individual to get, to reach a decision that we really know is what we should do. So, it's almost like people when they go out on a first date. They go on a first date. The date night was amazing. It was beautiful. Everyone got along. It was the most fun they have ever had. All of those things. And then somebody get home and say, well, I'm not going to call. I'm going to wait to see if they call. And if they don't call, then they must don't want to go out again. Well, do you want to go out again? If you want to go out again, then why don't you call? What does it take away to pick up the phone and be the person to call? So what I'm talking about specifically is when we pause on things that we want to see happen for whatever reason, and we're waiting for the other person to do something while we just sit by the tree and talk about when Godot is going to show up. So the interesting thing about this story about these two gentlemen that are sitting there, they are taking into account that the people that are bringing the messages are really bringing them from Godot. They are taking into account that Godot cares enough to send someone to let them know that he's still coming, not today, but tomorrow. And tomorrow doesn't come. Months from now, these same gentlemen show up and they have the same story. Why is it that we will trust that a person who has not shown up will all of a sudden start showing up. Now, I do understand that there's a space for second chances. There's a space for healing. There's a space for shifting things in a way if there has been a conversation, but they have not talked to Godot. They have not had any communication with this being whatsoever, but they are in assumption that he is still coming because someone said that he is. Actions speak louder than words. That's a very old saying. It's something that we throw out there, but there is evidence to how truthful that is. They could have been, they didn't necessarily, and the interesting thing about this play, they don't talk about if these gentlemen came with supplies. They don't talk about, how they have been taking care of themselves during all this time that they're waiting. They're just there, on pause, stuck. They don't take any initiative to do anything different than what they're doing in that moment, but waiting. And we often do that. We wait on people to choose us. We wait on people to select us to participate in the next phase of their life. If someone wants to show up for you, they're going to do it. They're not going to have you waiting months and months and months at a time. They're going to release you and say, I'm not going to be able to show up for you the way that you desire. Go home. But how long do you wait before you leave? How long do you sit there and allow yourself to go without food? And I'm speaking metaphorically, but in some cases, hey, I don't know what kind of dynamics you have in your life. How long will you go without food, without water, without viable shelter? These men were on a country road by a tree. And here's the kicker. They couldn't even remember where they were supposed to meet him. They just knew it was by a tree. But we're going to assume that it was the tree that they were to be at because someone kept showing up and telling them that he said he's coming, he'll be here tomorrow. Without instruction, we will wait. Without fully knowing, we will wait on other human beings. We'll wait on man before we wait on our higher power. We'll get frustrated with the divine and what we feel we were supposed to be doing or what we feel was supposed to show up in our lives. We'll get frustrated and shut down and shut off, but we will keep faith in humanity, an individual who is clearly showing that they do not have the same alignment of goals for that particular relationship. Whether they're your boss, like I said, always say lover, friend, or foe. They have not spoken to you to say to you, I'm on the same page that you are on. I desire to have the same things that you desire. I want to see the outcome that you desire to achieve. But we will wait in a holding space. We will wait on pause until they decide that we are worthy of their presence, of them showing up, of them giving to us what we may have been given to them. What makes us wait on Godot? What is it about our internal feelings towards ourselves? What is it about how we see ourselves in power and in bravery? What is it in how we lend ourselves to this conversation of being worthy of better, of greater? And this even goes for people that run a business. You will wait holding yourself to someone's promises of, I'm going to buy that, or I'm coming, or I will attend. I have colleagues that, honey, if you don't buy that thing, immediately they will sell it to the next person because they can't afford to wait on the fact that you might change your mind. You're not moving in commitment to wanting to have that purchase. So they don't say, well, I'm going to hold this for 3 months in case they finally decide they want it. They're going to not only sell it, they might sell it at a discount because now they've held it so long that it's out of quote unquote season. I don't want you to be out of season because you're waiting on someone to show up. So you may say, Renair, like, for real, like, so you told us all this story. So what are some things that we can do so we're not waiting for Godot? And one of the biggest things that came up for me, especially when I was younger, was why didn't they just leave? And I do recognize that today, as I'm older, that there are things that can complicate someone just walking away from a friendship or walking away from a job or walking away from a relationship. But I will ask you, while you're waiting for Godot, what are you doing in the meantime? Are you just sitting there, withering away? Or are you doing some things that are proactive for what you desire to see happen? Now, if it's a marriage or a long-term relationship or a cohabitation situation, you might not just be able to get up and walk away. You have some things that you have to take into consideration. If it's a job that you've been at for a while or you have family members that are depending on you, you might not be able to walk away from that job. Or maybe it's a friend that you've had for a number of years and you don't know how to handle if that relationship or that friendship was no longer part of your life. I get that. And I respect that. But what I will say is that in the meantime, be working on yourself, not just sitting by the tree, going without food and water and all of that. Continue to work on yourself because sometimes in working on yourself, you will discover something about yourself that will make you realize why you're just sitting there waiting. You would discover that you might have some issues with abandonment. You may discover that, you've been operating from a place of lacking love. You may discover that you have some skills and some qualities that you didn't know that you had, which may open up the door for you to want to do some other things with your life. So the biggest thing that I can say to you, the biggest dose of pink love that I can give to you is work within. Work within, because if you find that most of your connections you feel taken advantage of, or in most of your connections you find yourself always trying to be the fixer, always apologizing, always kind of begging for people to stay connected to you, then you have to dig deeper to figure out what is going on there. If you find yourself stuck in places and unable to move, you have to ask yourself what's going on there. When was the last time that you went after something that you desired the most and failed? When was the last time that a relationship that you so dreamed to work out broke every bit of your heart? When was the last time that you had to give up on something because it was not working out in your favor, but you felt so disappointed you decided that you never were going to try again? These are things, disappointment, betrayal, heartbreak, grief, loss. Those are things that will make you wait for Godot, because you will feel like you don't have any hope. And then you will put your hope in an individual or a place, praying that that thing will work out, and that will give you just enough motivation to do something different. Today I say to you, be your own motivation. Be your own motivation. Look back over the spaces in your life that you did not think that you would make it through. Look back over the stuff that you overcame, that when it was happening, you just knew that you were going to wither away. Look at all the times that you were waiting for someone to show up and made a decision to do it yourself. I'm not saying don't rely on other people. I'm not saying don't be connected to other people. What I am saying is that when your connection has no power, when your connection has no source and you are drained, laying by a tree with nothing to do and no place to go, waiting for someone else to show up to give you what you need, leave. Leave that space. Leave that space. Go and get what you need for you. Don't wait for someone to pick you. Don't wait for someone to make you a priority. Don't wait for someone to choose you, to make you feel like you're part of something. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done. I know sometimes you just want to feel that love from that person, or you just want to feel that acknowledgement from that job, or you just want to feel like you matter. But until you believe that you matter, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of you. Because what will happen is you will be motivated and holding on and moving because they're giving you some of their power. They're putting a battery pack in your back. But eventually, you will not be able to sustain it because it wasn't organically from you. It wasn't organically from within. The first thing they do, the first shift they make, you're going to shift with it because your power is tied to their current. And when they pull that plug, then there's nothing remaining for you but to die out sitting there waiting for another Godot. So that was what was on my heart today, and I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope that if you find yourself waiting for Godot, that you will get up and just leave. Even if you can't leave physically, metaphorically, or emotionally, you will be able to leave and get what you need. So I thank you for today for sharing your time with me and allowing me to take up your past half an hour talking about how you can be more powerful in your life by not waiting for someone to show up for you to give you the authority to move. And if this fits you or you know someone that could benefit from this message, share this with them. Please go and subscribe on your streaming platform because there are moments when we just need to hear it. Sometimes we need to hear that it's okay for us to have permission to leave that spot. So I could not keep this to myself because this was a message that has been sitting with me. And usually when something is sitting with me, I know that there's at least one person out there that is sitting with them. So, again, I'm grateful for your time. I pray that you have a blessed experience until we come back together again. And in your deepest moments, in those darkest hours, if you can't hold on to anything else, may you receive the light of pink love, which is self-love, within to guide you to your next place. So until we meet again, I say to you, be blessed, be well, and be loved.
Thank you for joining Dr. Renair today. For ways to stay connected, please visit www.pinklovewellness.com. You can also follow her on social media. She is Renair Amen everywhere.
I can find a future to a deepest possibility.